Troy was so angry his teeth were chattering. He had already lowered himself and begged so humbly. And this was the attitude Jiang was giving him? He had already provided a way out for them, and they didn't know how to take it.
Just you wait.
Troy shouted this, then made a run for it, afraid that Jiang might go crazy and hit him again. Mary exchanged glances at Bill. Then they both looked at Elise.
Are we making too much of a fuss?
Troy's last words before leaving were obviously a threat. Elise couldn't help but feel a little worried. She knew all too well what sort of people Jerome and his son were. He had never looked at Bill as his own younger brother. So naturally, he didn't treat Bill's family as relatives. If they upset him, this man was capable of doing anything.
Not at all,
Jiang calmly said.
he told us to wait, so we will wait.
With that, Jiang started clearing the dishes. Mary rushed over to do it instead when she saw him start clearing.
You go, I'll do it.
This son-in-law had quite the temper. She didn't realize it before. But now it was clear that Jiang was going to protect their family and stop Jerome and son from bullying them. Was this really a homeless person?
It's been hard on you, Mom.
Jiang smiled as he said this. He was really quick to fit into the role. Bill was still feeling uneasy, but he didn't know what to say. He wasn't the one with the final say in this family anyway. So he could only hide in his room again and timidly closed the door firmly behind him.
Now you have really offended them.
Elise sighed. It was already not bad that Troy had come to apologize. She'd never seen Troy humble himself before. She was still thinking that she should just let it go before it blows up, so that it wouldn't increase the tension within the family. But Jiang didn't seem to care for any of this, and insisted that Jerome come personally to apologize. How was this even possible? That mean, selfish and prideful uncle of hers was never going to humbly apologize to them.
You are wrong. They are the ones who have offended me. I have said it before. I will not let anybody bully you.
That look in his eyes sent Elise into a panic. 1 hour passed. Mary had finished washing the dishes. When she saw that Jiang had gone to bathe, she quickly ran into Elise's room.
Mom, what are you doing here?
Elise, who is John really? Somehow I feel he treats you differently.
What are you talking about? We don't know each other at all.
She bit her lips. From the first time she saw Jiang, he had constantly protected her and her family from being bullied by Jerome and son.
You are really going to let him sleep here tonight?
Mary was worried about this. Jiang was Elise's husband on paper, but they weren't willing to accept this just yet.
He has a mental illness.
She was afraid Jiang might hurt Elise. Elise hesitated for a while. Then she thought of that clean and clear look in Jiang's eyes.
He won't hurt me, Mom.
The bathroom door opened and Mary quickly made her way out, mouthing to her daughter. There's an iron bat in my room, just shout if anything happens. Elise's face was red and her heart was pounding very loudly. Was she really going to let Jiang sleep in her room? Suddenly there came a loud bang from the main door. Someone was banging on the main door again. Bill was like a frightened cat, all his hair standing on end. Mary's face was equally pale. He was here. Jerome was here. Given his temperament, there was no way he was going to tolerate this. They were doomed. Even Elise couldn't help but become nervous. She walked into the living room and stared at the door, as if there were a dozen gangsters with baseball bats behind that door. The whole family behaved as if they were going to meet a formidable foe.
Open the door. We have got guests.
Jiang was using a towel to wipe his hair as he smiled and said, Elise really didn't know what to do with this relaxed attitude of his. Was this guy really unafraid? Or he just didn't care? She walked to the door and opened it. Jerome was standing there with Troy behind him.
Elise.
Jerome's face was rather nasty looking. But he still managed to squeeze a smile out.
Your uncle has come here specially to apologize to you.
Elise froze. Mary and Bill, eavesdropping with their ears to their room door, also froze. Jerome had really come here to apologize?
Firing you was a misunderstanding. All this is Troy's fault and I have already taught him a lesson.
Jerome pointed to his son, and Troy immediately bowed his head.
I am sorry, Elise. I was wrong. Please forgive me. Some of this was my fault too. I didn't check properly before firing you. That was wrong of me. I hope you can forgive me. The company really needs you.
His tone was as sincere as it could be. If Elise still didn't agree to come back, there was nothing else he could do.
Tomorrow, I will be at the office entrance to receive you and reinstate you. Then I will also explain what happened to everybody personally so as to do you justice.
His apology was filled with sincerity, and his attitude was extremely humble now. Elise didn't know what to do when she saw Jerome bow slightly. She turned back to look at John and saw him nod.
Okay, Uncle Jerome, I will go to work tomorrow.
Sure, I will wait for you at the main entrance of the Dawson Group office tomorrow. Good night.
The father and son then left. Elise closed the door. Disbelief was still written all over Elise's face. Jerome had come personally to her house to apologize. With such a sincere attitude. When had she ever seen him like that?
My brother really came to apologize?
Bill pushed the door open, his lips trembling and his eyes were a little red. His family had been bullied so badly by Jerome all these years. When did he ever apologize for any of that? To Jerome, Bill was a disgrace to the Dawson family. If they weren't related by blood, Jerome would have chased them out of the family long ago.
He came to apologize?
Mary was also very excited about this. She had clearly suppressed her feelings for too long, and was a little out of control now. As a daughter-in-law of the Dawsons, she had been subject not just to Zayden's mood, but also to Jerome. And she had quietly endured for decades now. When she heard how Jerome had apologized so humbly earlier, Mary couldn't hold in her emotions anymore.
This damned bastard, so the day has come when he begs us.
Mary was about to cry. When she saw the way her parents reacted, Elise took in a deep breath. She had always known that her parents had been bullied by this uncle, and had been looked down upon and treated poorly. But today, even though it was just once, it was enough to see Jerome bow his head and apologize.
From now on, nobody will cause you to suffer anymore. Nobody can bully my wife, so nobody can bully my father-in-law and mother-in-law either.
Elise and family looked dumbfounded at John. This middle-aged son-in-law who married into the family was somehow different from other people. On the other side, Jerome's face had darkened since they left Elise's house. And it was so dark it was terrifying. Troy followed behind his father and didn't dare to say a single word. John forcing Jerome to go up personally to humbly apologize was as good as giving a good slap in the face.
Tell all the workers to come in 1 hour earlier to wait for Elise at the office entrance tomorrow.
Jerome smiled coldly, his face full of viciousness.
Also, secretly spread the word that Elise is sleeping with CEO Foster and wants to force the Dawson Group to bow to her. I am going to see whether Elise is thick-skinned enough to stay in Dawson Group or not.
This marks the end of Chapter 8. Please stay tuned to hear the new novel being started tomorrow.
Hello, Chucky. I am your mother.
Chuck was shocked to hear the voice.
Chucky, don't blame me. I had no choice but to go to abroad these years. But now I can finally return home. I will try my best to make up for the lost time with you.
But Dad, I checked the list. There is no family in the list of rich families by the name Cannon.
Of course you didn't find his name in the list of rich families, because he belongs to super rich family.
There was pin-drop silence in the entire banquet hall. All the people present were stunned by the group of mercenaries called by Chuck. Zelda thought to herself.
Who exactly are you, Chuck?
Why are you coming back, Mom?
To buy everything.